Devin, to have a second of a back-to-back end the way it did, you watching the rest of the game, and you guys have a huge margin of victory. What impressed you the most tonight about the way you guys played?
Just what you said, man. The schedule hasn't been easy for us. Outside of the back-to-back, we've been one home game, one road, one home, one road. And it's been tough. I know I didn't have a lot of juice coming in. But I was looking around the locker room, everybody was ready to go, and it kind of revived me. So, we came out ready to play. We knew they play a fast pace style of game, and, they don't give up either. So, we knew we had to play all the way through, and we did.
Obviously, you're not one to back down from competition, and they got chippy there tonight. Maybe just how you guys fed into that and were able to stick to what you guys do despite the back and forth and the text and stuff.
Yeah, there's been a few instances like that this year. That's what I like about our team. We can quickly, move on and continue playing. And, I don't think that's everybody's play style, but, we have guys over here, obviously Dylan, Jordan Goodwin, that feed into that. So, we've been good at responding after any type of altercation this year.
Devin, this felt like maybe the game that you spent the most time getting downhill so far this season. I'm curious from your perspective, with so many different coverages teams are throwing at you, what is it that you're kind of looking for to just kind of get the blender going for your team in the half court?
They pick up full. Watched a lot of them, obviously, in the playoffs last year. So it's kind of hard to run sets. They speed you up, and, we just try to get that, like you said, that first action to start the blender and, play from there. We have our spacing figured out, and it created a lot of easy looks all over the floor.
And then on the defensive end, I held them to, I think it was 36.4% today. What are you seeing from the team the last couple of games? 'Cause it feels like y'all are forcing more turnovers, but is that just because of containing the ball better, or what are you seeing on that?
Containing the ball better and, having each other's back. Obviously Mark being the anchor of our defense and not in today. We reverted to a lot of switching 1 through 5, and Nick and Oso did a good job of still staying in front of those guards. Siakam's a tough coverage, and we kept him to his left hand, which was a point of emphasis most of the night. So we were just following game plan, and, it's been working for us.
Book talked to you a lot over your career about your 3-and-D, quote-unquote, teammates. That's the label Dylan gets, but we've seen it going back to Oregon, how he can score the basketball. How'd you see him in the first half opening up that part of his game?
Yeah, he has the tools. He can do a little bit of everything, and, not only – is it out there on the court? He works on it too. He's one of the hardest workers I've been around. He spends, countless hours. Even when he was going through his core injury, I was telling him, are you supposed to be going that hard? And, but that's his mentality, so it's no surprise to me.
You guys had a handful of games last year where, like, the shooting percentage disparity was this high, and yet it was games that you barely won or even lost, but you shoot 58%. You win by 45. He's been preaching possession battles to you guys, I'm sure, the whole time. That's what it looks like, right?
Yeah. That's important. I think that's a lot of teams' point of emphasis this year. So, it's easy to say it in the pregame. It's easy to say it in practice, but, it definitely takes a little bit more to focus on it. And we have all guys doing it.
Do you see it, like, carry over where, like, grabbing an offensive rebound there leads to forcing a turnover there, like they come together?
Yeah. And just, being on the other side of it, you guard a good possession and then give up offensive rebound, and, it's what the basketball guys do. It usually ends up to a wide-open 3 or a putback layup.
Hey, Devin, before the game, Coach was saying this was probably going to be a Jordan Goodwin game just because of the juice and activity he provides. What have you seen so far to begin the season just from his activity and creating extra possessions for you guys?
Yeah, it started in camp. It was before the season, and I'll say that with a lot of guys. Everybody's been ready to go. You can tell everybody put the work in this summer and took it seriously, and, that's how it pays out.
Book, last 3 minutes of the third quarter, he scored a dozen, assisted on 2 other buckets. What do you remember about that whole sequence?
We're just getting stops and, playing fast. It's kind of tough for teams to, set up their defense when, we're getting steals and, securing long rebounds and, you have 5 guys running the floor.
And after the last one, you kind of have the back and forth with Jackson. And then after that ends, you walk to the other end of the court everyone else, I think it was free throw at the other end or something. Crowd's getting real loud in that moment. Are you feeling their energy there?
Yeah, you feel it. I know it's a big night for Suns fans with the Valley jerseys again in the court out there. So, you know, there was a special energy tonight, and we all felt it. You know, it obviously went through the team, and you know, we have something special cooking.
Speaking of, there we go. Speaking of the Valley Court, I mean, a lot of great memories, I'm sure, with that specific design. But what kind of parallels do you see with this team in terms of their energy and enthusiasm compared to those teams that you were on a few years ago?
I mean, just what you said. You know, it just comes down to energy, and it starts before you hit the court. You know, it's throughout the locker room. We didn't have shoot around today, but for us, it's usually in shoot around, and you know, it's laughs, it's jokes, it's music, and then it quickly turns to, you know, we have a job to accomplish. So, you know, I'd say that's the parallel right there, where you see the smiles and the laughs, and then immediately when it's game time, you know, it's time to go. Yep.
Thanks, sir.